And this is Greg.
And this is Greg. And we're going to talk a little bit about the Courtyard by Marriott contracts. There's actually, I'll put it on the blog, there's a link where you can download what we're going to talk about. You've got some final numbers on the awarding of the contracts. Tell me a little bit about what the stipulation was, and then how this compares with that stipulation that was in the contract.
I think that it's very important to go back to the actual language, which indicated that they would put forth their best efforts to employ as many local firms as possible. What that means basically is outreach of some sort to local contractors, as well as competitive bidding that allowed for close bids to be tipped towards the local firms. They did not have to award to local firms if there was no competition or there was no close competitive bidding. But Dino Yankus and the team at White Lodging said quite often to us, look, if they're close, and I can't define close, but they said if they're close, that we're going to go local. It's to our advantage to do so. And so that was their commitment to us, that they would do their best effort, put forth their best efforts to employ as many local people as possible. Mm-hmm. What we have now is a total list of contractor breakdowns, with one exception, and that's landscaping, which there's about a 99% chance it'll be a local landscaping firm. Makes sense, given what landscapers do. And so that one's still yet to be awarded. But 40 contracts were awarded. 26 of those, or 65%, went to firms in Allen County or adjacent county to Allen County. And so we feel that from a percentage basis, that's extraordinary. That's very pleasing to the commission, to myself, to the city. The first question out of a lot of people's minds is, yes, but what is the contract amount, the dollar amount? Well, we don't have contracts. They're not obligated or mandated to provide us their contracts. And so we don't have the dollar amounts. It's easy to look at a number of categories and know big contracts like electrical and plumbing did not go to Fort Wayne firms. However, they did go to Indiana firms. The electrical contract went to a firm out of South Bend, and the plumbing contract went to a firm in Indianapolis. So if you look at the Fort Wayne Ordinance defines local as state of Indiana. So from that standpoint, at least they're close to home. What I've been told, and I don't know for sure, but what I've been told is that a lot of those larger contracts many times have purchase of materials as a big part of that cost. And a lot of those purchases were going to be made by local suppliers. So even though some of the labor was going to firms that were from South Bend or Indianapolis, supplies were being purchased through local contractors. So not all that money of those big dollar amounts were necessarily going out of town. They were still passing through local suppliers with local markups and so on and so forth. But there are a lot of categories here that are large that also are, Fort Wayne firms. I think significant contracts are fire protection, fireproofing, and glass work, and installation of granite, and things like that. Well, the granite was purchased in China, but the installation is going to be done by a local firm. So things like that, I think, go a long way to satisfying the commitment that they made to the city.
I know I spoke with an electrician friend, and one of the points that he made was that, especially with a hotel of this size, the electrical work that needs to be done can be really daunting, to use the word that he used. And that sometimes that requires someone who's really got the experience. So he was questioning whether there were many local firms that had that experience and that ability to be able to come in and do a contract of that size or that complexity.
I don't know, but as you say that, I think about your average upscale, newer hotel room. You think about it, internet, television, phone, communication, security, fire safety. All of that stuff requires wires, or almost all of it does. So you're right, it's a very extensive part of the job. And it was the very first contract, interestingly enough, that kind of started the whole local critique of the process. There wasn't a local electrical firm. It was a big contract. And but we investigated, and White reassured us that it was an up and up, straight up competition, and that it was a significant gap between any local firm and the firm that won the bid.
Okay. Was there anything else about the contracts that we wanted to talk about?
You know, some of the larger, like I said, the earth moving, Bond won that. There's significant. That was a big contract, and while there was a small amount of that was reimbursed by the city because of subsurface structures that were encountered from the buildings that used to be there, the vast majority of that contract, of course, was paid for by White. And there's been some question about that, but indeed, our reimbursement to them for basement structures that were still on the ground was minuscule compared to the overall contract. I'm happy to see names like MSKTV, like Jack Laurie for flooring, Hall Aluminum Products, Momper Insulation, Shambaugh, you know, just a lot of local firms that got to work. And with only a few exceptions, they're Indiana firms, to be sure.
And to kind of take a step back and to look at the project overall, the motel, I mean, to pull the financing together, to have gotten it going with the economic situation the way it is, I think speaks something for Courtyard, for White Lodging.
We, you know, it's no secret that we didn't have a lot of respondents to our RFP for a conventional hotel for downtown Fort Wayne. But when you look at the people who had submitted qualifications, I don't think any of them could beat the quality of White Lodging and the fact that they're an Indiana company, committed to Indiana economics. I think, you know, it's really great. And it's been said before, but White Lodging looked at our market a number of times for a hotel, a downtown hotel. We were told a good 6 years before this project came along. And they just really liked the synergy that Harrison Square represented, the ballpark, and the future Harrison condo project and mixed-use project, the garage, just the synergy of that project, and the connection to the embassy and everything else. And that's why it came together.
Mm-hmm.